The chains bit into my skin, colder than the frost creeping along the edges of the night. They dragged me across the stone like I was already dead, like I was nothing more than kindling for their holy fire. My wrists were bound, my ankles scraped raw, and still I held my head high. Let them look. Let them see that I did not bow. Not to kings. Not to gods. Not to the righteous. They thought their shackles meant power. That iron and prayer were enough to snuff out something as old as the wind. But they forget, the wind does not beg. It does not kneel. It screams. They called me witch. Whispered at first, in corners and behind drawn curtains. Then louder, in markets, temples, and over supper tables. Until finally they shouted it in the open square, pitchforks in hand, children clutching their mothers, priests calling for fire. Not because they knew what I was, but because I reminded them of everything they feared and could not name. I watched them set the pyre. I watched them bring the oil. They thought they were building a holy altar. What they built was a door. And I would be the key. My magic did not scream like fire. It whispered, coiled in the dark, pulsing beneath my ribs. It did not flare when they tied me to the stake. It waited. There was a time I was one of them. I laughed beside them, held their babies, cured their fevers. I watched the moon rise with them and sang to the harvest gods. I was kindness. I was quiet. I was the answer to the prayers they never dared speak aloud. But kindness is not protection. Quiet does not save you. All it takes is a bad year. A withered crop. A child who does not wake. And suddenly your gifts become curses. Your wisdom becomes heresy. Your touch becomes poison. They came for me at dawn, cloaks heavy with rain, eyes full of judgment. I did not fight. Not because I could not. But because I knew the story had to unfold this way. They needed to believe they won. The priest read from his book, but his hands trembled. I smiled at him. He could not hold my gaze. Even then, even tied and bound, they could not look too long. It is hard to face what you do not understand, what you fear might be greater than you. The first flame kissed the wood. A ripple of heat. The scent of pitch. I closed my eyes and listened. Not to them. To the wind. To the trees. To the quiet between the worlds. Magic does not die. It changes. I whispered no curse. I needed no spell. The spell was written in my blood, my breath, the bones of the land beneath their feet. It was in the rhythm of the earth, the pull of the moon, the fear that made their hands shake as they held their torches. The fire climbed. My skin split. Pain bloomed like roses, dark and wild. But I did not scream. Not yet. When the wind turned, they thought it was chance. When the fire leapt and caught the thatch of the nearest roof, they thought it was misfortune. When the river swelled and drowned their fields before the next moon, they remembered my eyes. I was never just a woman. I was never just a healer. I was never just theirs. They shackled my hands. But not my magic. It broke free the moment they turned away. Not in flames. Not in vengeance. But in memory. I became the rust on their blades, the creak in their floorboards, the shadow in their window before dawn. I became the silence after the prayer, the fear behind their laughter. Children would grow with stories of me. Mothers would hush them with tales of the witch who sees through walls, who walks in dreams, who answers when called. But I do not answer every voice. Only those who know the fire is not to be feared, who feel the pulse in the earth when they walk barefoot, who dream in red and wake with the taste of ash. They are mine, and they will rise. I am not gone. I am not ash. I am not a cautionary tale. I am the storm they cannot name. And when the moon is full, and the air thick with smoke, and the wind tastes of iron, I return. Not to burn. To remind. Because you can bind hands. You can silence tongues. You can bury bones. But you cannot chain the wild. And you will never silence magic. So if you're still listening, if the air around you feels heavier now, if the candles flicker though the windows are closed, know this. Magic waits for no one, but it recognizes its own. If you've ever been called strange, or dangerous, or too much, if they've tried to quiet your voice, shrink your spirit, cage your fire, you are one of us. Let them come with ropes. Let them come with fire. Let them chant their prayers. We are not afraid. They can shackle our hands, but never our magic. If this story called to something ancient in you, don't keep it to yourself, share it, speak it aloud, and when the next blood moon rises, be ready. Because the witches are not gone. They're just waiting. Burn the witch.